Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right, jetty structures. Jetty is basically a variety of structures used in river, docks, and maritime works that are generally carried out in pairs from river banks or in continuation of river channels at their outlets into deep water or out into docks and outside their entrances or forming basin along the coast for ports and tidal seas. So basically, jetty is a structure that's been built that would make it easy for people to gain access into the riverbanks or the shore. So it's facilities that is provided in a port, particularly. So it's built from the shore at which the vessels berth, either at the head or alongside of the vessel. So jetty consists of approach bridge, the jetty head, dolphins, and fender system. So this is an example of a jetty. So there are many forms of jetties. The type of jetties that can be differentiating based on its main function and its form of construction. So what kind of jetties that you will be building depends on its purpose. The aspect that needs to be considered when constructing a jetty is its construction, as its construction was held at an open sea. So if the jetty is you know, being built at the open sea, obviously you have to choose a more robust material. So this include the design consideration, environmental impacts, and method of construction and the uses of the jetty. So the jetty should meet the requirements of design codes and standards. So it needs to be of sound engineering principles and fit for purpose. It should be made of sound construction, preferably made of non-combustible material and be of sufficient strength to withstand normal berthing process. So berthing is when the vessel starts to come close and be in contact with the jetty. So design principles of jetties. Okay, so it has a general sitting consideration, follows the civil and structural design requirements, impact protection for the approach of the ship to the jetty. This is when the ship comes close to the jetty. Okay, so the jetty must be able to absorb some of these impact forces. Vessels anchorage and mooring requirements at the jetty. So the jetty must be designed for the type of vessel that will be anchored to it. Okay. And then ship to shore transfer, especially for ships that needs to shore transfer of hazardous material. So these are like specialized jetties to handle this type of materials. And of course, the access for emergency vehicles and emergency escape. If when there are any mishaps that happens. So in addition to the correct design of the jetty installation, the facility should also be subjected to adequate maintenance and inspection. A program designed to ensure that the integrity of the facility is maintained. So since some of the jetties will be dealing with vessels that handle a lot of high risk materials, so the jetty needs to be periodically maintained and it needs to be um, inspected from time to time. So additional consideration, precautions that should be taken jetty, since there are a number of different authorities which may have a controlling influence. Um, so a lot of people will be, authorities will be um, have a say in the construction and operation of the jetty. So precautions should be taken. This include the harbor operator, jetty operator, and the master of the ship. So there should be a clear definition of the role and responsibilities of all parties concerned. So civil and structural design of jetties. Jetty should be designed in accordance of BS 6349. So part 2, advice on design of quay walls, jetties, and dolphin. So the considerations include a risk of fire, maximum size of vessel that can be moored or basically parked at the jetty, hazardous substance that can be handled, the chemical and physical properties that can be handled by the jetty, meteorological consideration, okay, the operation of jetty if there is like a storm coming, other natural phenomena such as lightning, earthquake, okay, geological information and geological stability in the area of the river or sea, rise and fall of tides, cargo handling requirement, material of the construction of the actual jetty, thermal expansion and contraction. Because if the jetty, jetties are long, so it will be exposed to heat from the sun as well as rain. So the material of the jetty will expand and contract just like any other civil engineering structures. So this needs to be taken into consideration. Electrical earthing to delivery points, to loading berth. Okay, earthing, because we do not want to cause any sparks when hazardous material are being handled. Cathodic protection under sea steel parts. So if the jetty is being made out of steel, there must be a corrosion protection for the jetty. In terms of impact protection, guidance for the approach of ship towards jetty will be dependent upon specific details of waterway, tidal flow, seabed. The aim is of the approach will be to bring the ship gently alongside the jetty. These procedures not to be adhered by the pilot or master of the ship, and the ship collide with the jetty at an excessive speed or at an inappropriate angle, then severe damage is likely to result. So when the ship is coming close to the jetty, the pilot needs to make sure that the approach is at the right speed and at the right angle. So because the jetty is only able to absorb the impact force from a normal approach, okay, not from an out of control type of approach. So due to the inherent difficulty of positioning large ship along jetty, it's essential some form of protection be available associated to the jetty. Okay. So that's why the jetties are being equipped with rubber components to protect, to absorb the impact. Such protection is essential when the ship is being maneuvered into mooring position alongside the jetty and when the ship is moored and the ship may being pushed to the jetty by tides, wind currents. So this is the BS on BS 6349 on impact protection. It includes guides on type of fenders, fendering system, and layouts, mooring devices, rope. So these are all the equipments that can need to be used at the jetty itself. The function of a fendering system is to protect the jetty structure against damage from ship. Okay, this has been mentioned before. For a safe and secure mooring, The installation of a facility should include all range sizes and types of ship, tidal variation, weather conditions, and type of cargo and ballasting operation. So there are maybe special types of jetty that can only handle special types of ships and special type of cargo. So account needs to be taken of the rise and fall of ship related to the jetty as a result of the changing tidal pattern. So as if the jetty itself is not the floating type, I mean, it's being built straight from the riverbed or the seabed. Obviously, when there is a tidal movement, the jetty will not be following that tidal movement, and this will result in the ships being slightly higher or lower than the jetty. So this is something that needs to be taken into consideration when they are loading or unloading their cargoes. Insufficient depth of water to accommodate the ship in approach at the jetty or to accommodate mooring tide may result on the ship running aground. So if this is not being taken into consideration, especially when the tide is going low, so the ship is definitely going to be stuck at the jetty. This can lead to major accident. Okay. Consideration is to be given at design stage for the possibility of burst silting at the jetty, leading to an increased probability of vessel running aground. The design of jetty should take this into consideration. Okay, when silts start to build near the jetty, this can make the vessel getting stuck, okay, at the jetty. So this can be a tremendous hazard. Jetty bollards and mooring arrangement should be designed to hold the ship in position, okay, safely. So inadequacy in the mooring arrangement could result in the ship breaking away from the mooring, especially during storm. The facilities at the jetty should be strong enough to hold the ships which are in mooring position. Often it is necessary to hold the ship in place in relation to the jetty mounted offloading facilities, which may have limited flexibility in movement. This is achieved by restraining the movement to within acceptable limits by means of adequate number of mooring line compatible with the condition of wind tide weather previous operating experience. So the mooring points for the mooring lines between the jetty and the ship should be enough, should be adequate to secure the ship to the jetty in whichever type of condition. So failure to restrain the ship will result in excessive movement. So this can damage the pipework, damage the jetty, and may release hazardous substances to the sea. Right, ship to shore transfer. The transfer from ship to shore unavoidably involves transfer of hazardous substances by pipework system. Uh, So all ship to shore connections should be provide sufficient flexibility to allow for rise, fall, and range of vessel. So even though the vessel is being secured the best as it can be to the jetty, obviously there's going to be movement, especially from tide, okay, whether it goes up or down, from the ocean itself. Sea waves, that won't be much of an issue, but there are some. Okay, so the connection between the ship and the facility to store what is being carried by the ship should have flexibility to them. So flexible pipework should be manufactured to a standard suitable for the application. So they have to have this some sort of flexible pipework in order for them to handle these goods. So it should be adequately supported so that it does not become king overbent, braided, or trapped. So when the process is going on, movement of materials from the ship, it needs to be monitored all the time. So large hoses are used, suitable cranes and a hose rake can be used. Care should be taken for hose slinging and securing equipment. Does not cause excessive curvature or flexible pipework system. So in other hand, they say that the pipework needs to be flexible. Failure of transfer line during transfer could result in splittage of material into the water course, causing pollution, fire, or explosion. So that is not what we want. Okay. Excessive movement of ship will result in the pipework being pulled apart or discharge pipework become trapped between the jetty and the ship. So this can damage the pipework itself. So when not in use, hoses should be properly stored to avoid accidental damage. Okay, this is in terms of storing and maintaining of the hoses. All hoses should be externally inspected for damage. Okay. Additional features such as emergency release or breakaway couplings with automatic shut off valve for isolation of the inventory can be installed. So, in order to control if mechanism, if there's any failures of the pipelines, it should be installed with shut off valve or breakaway couplings. For pipework transfer system, consideration should be also be given to pressure relief, fire engulfment relief, and the possibility of pressure surges. Okay, so this pressure surges caused by closing valve too rapidly. So the handling of the pipeline should also be handled by someone with experience, so that the what you call the pipe work can be used for quite some time without any serious damage. Pigging operation often carried out to clean the pipeline. So from time to time needs to be cleaned. Okay, so the materials hazard associated should be carefully assessed. So special consideration should be given to installation where manifold system are used to ensure that the correct connection between ship and storage tank. Okay, so these are ships which need a secure connection to the storage tank, especially in handling oils and gases. So in system where the storage tank are situated on land above level of the jetty, then considerations needs to be taken to control the flow from storage tank. This is to avoid spillage and pollution. So as a precaution against spillage or the other emergency on the jetty, shut off valve. So there must be a system to suspend the operation when there is a problem. So such valve should not introduce unacceptable surge pressures. Okay. So you cannot just shut down the pipeline instantly. It needs to be shut down in stages, slowly. So procedures and facilities should be in place for emptying out residual content from the pipework itself. So this is to clean up the pipework. So this is an example of pipework. Okay. So next, the construction of jetty. So the construction sequence is quite similar, okay, as any other construction. We have site possession, preliminaries, the dredging work, okay, of where we want to build the jetty. Site clearance, revetment works, piling, load test, substructures, dolphin, pile cap, precast, pre-stressed beam, in situ concrete, deck furniture, fabrication of structural steelwork, navigational aids, and handover. So, in terms of construction of a jetty, the jetty are of lighter construction than general cargo handling docks, as they do not require a warehouse or extensive cargo handling equipment like crane. So, jetty head is protected by bursting dolphins against the mooring tankers, and also provided with separated dolphin to take the ship's mooring line. The jetty is equipped with the pipeline system to transport product to or from the ships. So this is an example of the piles being used to construct a jetty. Obviously, this is a span pile, a concrete span pile. Piles stored on barge to be transferred at the driving point. The size of the material barge is based on the pile itself. The pile must not overhang more than 3 meters from the bottom stern of the material barge. This is in terms of placement. And the material barge is to be towed in front of the piling barge by a tugboat. To install the pile, the anchoring positioning plan for driving pile is predetermined at each location. Normally, these days they will be using like GPS, okay, to identify the location for each pile point. The piling sequence is worked out before piling work is carried out to ensure that all piles can be driven without interferences. The anchors are spread by anchor boat. This anchor boat is equipped with 10 tons line pull hydraulic winch to an A-frame. The piling barge anchor positioning is predetermined for each piling location. Minimum of 4-point mooring is used to anchor the piling barge in position. When the anchor spreading works is completed, the piling barge is ready for pile driving. So this is the example of the A-frame. Okay, so pre-stressed span pile and steel pipe piles are being driven. The pile was lifted until it's vertical. The lower sling is slackened and removed. Pile is slotted into the hammer cap and gripped by the piling leader hydraulic clamp. Pile is strengthened fully by lifting both hammer and pile. So there is the piles that forms the base of the jetty. So the construction method is almost as the same as you are building a bridge, okay, running across a river. Okay. Okay, so a completed pile cap there. Now they are building the deck slab. This is installation of RC slab. They are doing the RC formwork, I believe. Installation of in situ reinforced concrete slab and structural steel. So completion of the jetty structure. So this is a diagram of construction of a jetty and the location of the berth. We have two berths and two ships that are mooring on this berth with different sizes of ships. And then we have the components. This is the dolphin that's going to absorb the impact from the side of the ship. And then petrochemical loading arms, okay, to connect the pipe work to the ships. a jeep crane to lift the materials from the ship, elevator platform, hose rack, pipe rack. So these are all about the pipe works. Operation room, okay, and the same thing for the second berth. So this is at the jetty head. Okay. Okay, so dolphins. What are these dolphins? Okay. So dolphin are marine structure for mooring vessel, commonly used in combination with piers and wharf to shorten or reduce the length of the structures. So it's installed to provide a fixed structure when it will be impractical to extend the shore to provide dry access facility. For example, when ships are greater than the length of the berth. All right. So dolphin are designed principally for the horizontal loads of impact or wind and current forces from a ship when it's docking. During the time as ships are moored, these are three types of dolphin. We have they are breasting dolphin, mooring dolphin, and protective dolphin. So this is an example of a mooring dolphin. You can see better here. You can see that the ship here is mooring. Obviously, it's a lot bigger than the jetty itself. So that's why we have these mooring dolphins to cover the length of the ship. And of course, the breasting dolphin, okay, to absorb the impact from the ship. Okay, so this is the diagram from above. Okay, and a photo of the protective dolphins. So in terms of deck furniture at the jetty, we have the fender system. Purpose is to prevent the ship or jetty head being damaged during the mooring process. Type of fender made out of rubber. Okay. The side exposed to the ship is covered with rubber pads to protect the ship. Okay. So when the ship comes close to the jetty, there must be something absorbers. There must be an absorber to absorb the impact of the side of the ship from the process of mooring. Okay, like a bumper system lah. So that is what the fender is all about. Okay, we have the fender system at here. You can see the rubber, but here quite big rubber here, or just during along the side of the jetty. Okay, another protection. You can see that this rubber is a fender. They have here and this one too. Okay, so this is a very light rubber here being put, but we also have a thicker rubber over here, here, here. Right. So this is the fender system being tested with a small ship. Okay, obviously the actual ship will be a couple of hundred times larger, and the installation of the fender system. So the contractor must be sure that the face of concrete to support the fender shall be sufficiently wide and flat and vertical. During the placement of fenders, slinging and hoisting the rubber section is permissible, but caution to avoid the tearing of rubber. So the best way is using a canvas sling. Use of stainless steel cut washer under the attachment bolt are required to prevent cutting and tearing of the rubber. All inserts shall be incorporated in the fender element during the molding and lamination. It's not permitted. Okay. Fixing should be accurately cast into the concrete. Fixing and fitting must be protected against damage. So this is the detail of a design of fender. So these are the components. You can see in the diagram: anchor bolt, tension chain, anchor bolt, tension chain, okay, shear chain, weight chain, okay, the shear and the weight. This is to handle the weight of the pad here. Frontal frame. This is part that will be in contact with the ship. Okay. Frontal pad here is made out of rubber. Okay. And the U anchor. These things. Okay. These things. U anchor. Right. The next component, bollard, essential part of the jetty structure, function to hold the vessel line while berthing and usually constructed out of cast steel. The method of installation can it be considered before installing the anchor bolt in order not to conflict with the reinforcement. The bolt must have at least two clear threads of protruding. Position of the bolts should be checked against the bollard prior to pouring concrete. Nut and washer seated into the recess of the bollard, covered with bitumen. Any parts of the embed in the concrete shall be clear and free from rust, doll, and others. So this is an example here of the bollard. Here you can see that it's made out of steel and being securely fastened to the concrete jetty. So this is another example. These are usually at the ships. And yeah, this bollard is just trying to be a bit creative. Okay, so is this. Next is the quick release hook. Installed at the mooring dolphin and breasting dolphin. Both dolphin were installed with the QRH when heavy lines to be handled. The installation of QRH was done after the construction of mooring dolphin. So this is the example. Quick release hook, so that we can release the vessel quickly. Okay, so this is the photo. Rubber ladder installed at breasting dolphin. Is tough, durable, weather resistant, able to absorb considerable contact from vessel without damage. It's made out of 300 mm steel rods, which are integral part of rubber and support. Ladder unit can be bolted into concrete, steel, wood, or welded. So this is the rubber ladder. Okay. So it's very sturdy, complete with rubber protection, just in case if it made contact with the vessel. Turning basin is a wider body of water, either located at the end of a ship, canal, or port to allow cargo ships to turn. Normally, the cargo ship would turn here, not with its own power, but with the assistance of the tugboats. Okay, so an example of a turning basin. It is a similar concept as the train's turntable. Yeah. Okay, so this is where the ship can make it turn. Usually, this process would involve the assistance of tugboats, okay, because obviously the ship cannot turn on its own power, especially in this very limited or confined space. To maintain the jetty, so it needs to be checked. The fendering system needs to be checked after to ensure there's no damage. The depth of the approach channel, berthing location, and exit channel should be checked so that we will not have the problem of vessels getting stuck in the mud or running aground. So they have to have a program to dredge these channels so that they would be able to remove the silt and excess materials. Bollards and securing point located on the jetty should be inspected so that they are not damaged. The underwater structure of jetty should be inspected. We want to check for corrosion. Ropes mooring system used for fastening the ship should be inspected to ensure that the ropes are not damaged and could snap. All land-based pipework, pumps, and transfer system, lifting apparatus, support structure should be inspected. Fire access route and emergency equipment should be inspected, and wash down facilities for flexible pipework system. All right, so with that, we have covered the topic of jetty. This topic would require an extensive reading on a very specialized issue, which is on jetties. So with that, thank you very much to all of you for listening. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.